Alright, so it's about that time where we start hearing about various prospects conducting individual workouts with teams across the NBA, and while we still haven't seen any video footage or even images from some of these individual workouts that the Bulls have had with some of the prospects, unless of course I've just missed it, which could very well be the case. There's so much content and information out there, it's hard to keep track of everything, but in any event, we did hear through sources, this first being revealed by Kevin O'Connor, which according to his sources, the Bulls have hosted workouts with 4 potential lottery picks: Keaton Wagler, Kingston Flemings, Nate Ament, and Morez Johnson Jr., which is very interesting, especially for Wagler and Flemings, because those are 2 guys in particular that are not expected to go anywhere in the range of the 15th pick on most mock boards. Wagler, I've seen in quite a few boards actually, where some outlets are saying they could see him going as high as 5th. Ament and Johnson, while they've been climbing the draft boards with their stocks rising and are most likely lottery picks, you could see a world where maybe it makes sense that they're working these guys out because they could be available at 15. But Wagler and Flemings, that's interesting because you're not going to take either of those guys at number 4. That would be insane. It's incredibly unlikely, though, that they're going to fall to 15. So one can then conclude perhaps the Bulls are looking to trade up from the 15th pick. We have talked about various trade up scenarios before, but knowing the Bulls are working out potential lottery picks, you'd have to think this is even more of a possibility than ever before. How should we feel about it? Well, there's a lot to digest here, so let's talk about it. So what's going on, everyone? You're listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well. Now, you guys know me. I'm kind of of the mind that the Bulls should really just stay put where they are at 4 and 15. I think in a draft class like this, that's as deep as it is, you have a tier of its own in the top 4, so in my view it doesn't make sense to trade up from 4, give up future assets when the talent gap isn't that big among those top 4 prospects. And then at 15, I'm kind of the opinion that you should just see who falls to you. Take the best player available, because you never know if the guy that you're eyeing, like a Nate Ament or Morez Johnson, could fall to you at 15. When you're thinking of trading up to get him initially, and now you don't have to give up anything to get the guy that you want. I often compare it to the 2024 draft, where there was a lot of chatter. The Bulls were thinking of trading up from number 11 to take Modest Buzelis because most people believed he would go in the 5 to 7 range in that draft. The Bulls ended up not trading up in that instance, and they got Modest anyway. And because we know this draft class is deep, we know there was a lot of talent to be had. If you're wanting to trade up, you're probably going to have to give up a lot to get the pick that you want. And at that point, is it worth it when you're likely able to get a dude at 15 that you can actually project to be a starter in this league? That said, every player, every pick, every opportunity has a price. If there is a guy you really have your eyes set on, and it's a good return from what you would have to give up to get them, then okay, I'm all ears. When it comes to Wagler, though, let's start with him. I have a hard time seeing this one, and why it fascinates me so much and why the Bulls hosted him for an individual workout, is the reason it's interesting is because he's a guard. There is some redundancy between him and Josh Giddey. While Wagler isn't a true point guard per se, he's more of a combo guard, he can be a secondary creator, but also great playing off the ball in the catch and shoot. Great handles, very smart, high IQ player. And what's interesting about Wagler is that he didn't project to be an NBA player, at least in his freshman season. He was a 4-star recruit that wasn't even an ESPN top 100 player, but because he had such a dominant and standout season as a freshman, people have started seeing the upside with this kid, and it's why you've seen him climb the draft boards. He averaged 17.9 points per game, 5.1 rebounds, 4.2 assists, great positional size, again, like Giddey, but he's also a much more active defender than someone like Giddey. Now, he's got to work on his physicality a bit and getting a little stronger, bulking up a bit, but that should come with time given his age. So yes, there are a lot of things to like about Wagler, and if the Bulls had the 6th or 7th pick, bringing him in for a workout makes sense. But if the Bulls are serious about him, they would need to trade up. And the reason I say I have a hard time seeing is because, say the Clippers really want this guy at number 5, which there have been some talks that they would entertain this. I don't see a trade path that works unless you're offering Modest in the 15th pick to move up to 5. I don't see Giddey in 15 being enough to get it done. I don't know the Clippers would have much interest in Giddey when they already just traded for Darius Garland. Those are the Bulls' two most valuable assets at this point. Are you throwing the Clippers a future first, maybe 2 future firsts, because it's probably going to cost you that much to get there, and at that point I just don't see it being worth it. And the Clippers also aren't one of those teams that have dead money or bad contracts on their books that they would be looking to get out of, where they're maybe more eager to settle for less and trading their number 5 pick if it means dumping some unwanted salary. The Nets at number 6, I also don't see a team like the Nets, that's so desperate in need of talent trading out of their pick. I just don't. Now the Kings and the Hawks, though, at number 7 and 8, I could see, one, because it's the Kings and they always make bad decisions, but they're looking to rebuild and trying to get out of some contracts, most notably to Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, who are both on expiring deals, which would be hilarious to bring either of those guys back, but I would do it if it meant the Bulls could trade up from 15 just to take on 1 year of either Zach or DeMar. And then for the Hawks, I mean, this is a team that is trying to contend, really, right? They're trying to build around Jalen Johnson. Maybe they would be okay parting with the 8th pick if they can get an additional asset, maybe an established backup point guard in Trey Jones in the 15th pick, probably the 38th pick as well, maybe another future second. That could potentially get it done. Now, when it comes to Kingston Flemings, again, also interesting. Another guard, not a wing or a big, a point guard, great facilitator, super fast, can get downhill in a hurry. He's actually pretty skilled operating in the mid-range, but he's a decent shooter outside as well. Some of the player comps that I've seen from him are guys like De'Aaron Fox, Steve Francis. So again, working out a guy like this when you project to already have your starting point guard in Josh Giddey, to me is very interesting. I've seen Flemings go anywhere from 6 to 11 in most mock boards. I haven't seen one where he's fallen out of the lottery. So very similar to Wagler in that situation. You're looking at the same teams that you would be trying to trade up with. If he slips, though, a little past 10, I mean, the only trade I could see, and we did a whole video on a trade-up scenario like this, but that's trading up with the Warriors for that 11th pick. The Bulls agreeing to take on Jimmy Butler's expiring contract when he's going to be out for most of the season. This frees up space for the Warriors to bring in a win-now player for one last title push for Steph. Maybe that's LeBron. Maybe it opens up more pathways to trade for Giannis. I think the biggest question is it worth it for the Bulls to use all of their available cap space, even if it's only for one season, but using all that cap space to move up 4 spots? I guess it just depends on how much you really like the guy on the board at number 11 compared to number 15, but working out Flemings could be one of those instances here where he could fall to 11 and maybe the Bulls are really sold on him and they pull the trigger on a deal with the Warriors. Because outside of that, I don't see a world where a team like the Dallas Mavericks, who have the 9th pick, where they would trade that pick. Maybe Bucks at number 10. For the Bucks, we really have to see what direction they take, right? Are they going to try and go all in again for Giannis, or do they tear everything down? If they're tearing everything down, they're going to want that number 10 pick. But look, all of this aside, I like Wagler, I like Flemings. I talked about both of these guys previously before we knew the Bulls were going to move up to number 4 when we thought they were likely to get the 9th pick. And if there is an opportunity to trade up to ensure that you can get one of these guys without having to give up too much, yeah, I'm all for it. Now, as far as Nate Ament, I've talked about him in a prior video as well, back when we thought the Bulls were drafting 9th, so I won't go into him too much here, but he's another solid prospect, very versatile player, can do a bit of everything, long, athletic, fits the slat mold. He does need to get stronger, though. He's pretty lean and thin for his height. But anyway, a guy who I haven't talked about quite yet, and the man has really been rising like crazy when it comes to his draft stock, is Morris Johnson. I mean, just a few weeks ago, this guy was projecting to go late in the first round, so wasn't even on my radar. And now suddenly we're talking about him being a potential lottery pick, but he certainly could still be there at 15 for the Bulls. He was one of the best players on the championship team last season. Second-year college player, 6'9", 250 pounds, already has an NBA body. Dude is a tank that is hard to get through on defense. Good luck trying to post up on that guy. He himself, though, I mean, on offense, has great post-up moves. He's great at drawing contact with his footwork, getting into the paint, great on the offensive glass. I mean, despite his bulkier frame, he moves very well, both on and off the ball, to get where he needs to be. He runs hard at the basket in transition, can operate in the pick and rolls, a lob threat. Great screen setter, by the way. Like, he sets really strong screens that will knock the defender to the ground while he then runs to the rim for a lob. Again, he fits the slap profile, so I can see why the Bulls would be interested in working him out. The upside may not be as high as some of the other guys that we've been talking about, but he's more NBA ready. now, and with probably a higher floor than a lot of these other guys. So it's going to be fascinating to see how this all plays out, what it means for the Bulls' efforts in trying to trade up, but also what it means for some of the guys currently on the roster. What does it mean for Giddey when you're working out two high upside guards that you're clearly targeting if they're not going to be available at 15? So draft night is going to be fun. I'll say that much. Could be a lot of movement throughout the NBA. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.